I'm here today with Jonathan Simmons, our co-chair of the A4S CFO Leadership Network, the Canadian chapter. We're celebrating 5 years since the launch of the chapter. Jonathan, you have been with the chapter since the beginning. And as you reflect back on the last 5 years, what would you consider to be, I would say, the biggest changes or the learnings that you personally have professionally experienced, and also your organization?
Well, I have to say, I want to go back to the reason why I got involved in the chapter in the first place, and that was I had realized that the very pressing issues of sustainability were real. It was an emerging area, and I wanted help in thinking through how I and the organization that I work with, OMERS, were going to think about them. And so the chapter gave me an opportunity to connect with like-minded CFOs, to compare notes, and frankly to learn. And for the first little while, I would say I was taking way more out of it than I was putting in. And then as OMERS began to develop its own capabilities, and I was learning more about the issues that others were facing, began to contribute more and more. And so I think that's a common understanding of many members of the chapter, and a common experience for people getting involved.
Excellent. So as the chapter celebrates 5 years of being in operation, what would you say are their biggest achievements, and what is the impact that it's had?
Let's face it, the world has changed a very great deal in the last 5 years. 5 years ago, the issues of sustainability that the chapter is dealing with were emerging, and they've now become mainstream. TCFD was something that very few organizations had adopted. Now TCFD is very broadly accepted as something which the majority of major companies have signed up for. There wasn't an international sustainability standards board, and now the IFRS Foundation has established this. So the world has changed a lot in the last 5 years. I'd like to think that A4S had a part to play in that, and that the work that we did advocating, working together to develop practical guides had something to do with that.
So what do you think is the most valuable aspect of being part of the network, both for yourself personally and also for your organization?
Oh, it's definitely getting involved with others. Seeing what others are doing, hearing what others are doing has been huge for us. I mean, A4S offers not only the opportunity for CFOs like myself to connect with my peers and understand the issues that others are dealing with. It also provides resources. So for example, the A4S Academy allows me to assign members of my team to participate in the Academy, learning with others, both here in Canada and around the world. They're the essential guides that we've had the opportunity to work on together with other organizations. And so there's practical things that we've been able to take away from A4S, which have helped us deal with items that we're facing, like how do you incorporate climate change into the valuation of private assets? It's a good example of something where we worked with with other leaders from A4S in developing the essential guide, and we learned something along the way.
What advice would you give to someone that wants to join the chapter?
Oh, don't hesitate, get involved. The more diverse a group of people that we have putting their minds together to solve some of the issues that we're facing, the faster we'll be able to go. And many hands make light work. I really believe that.
Excellent. If you had a wish for the organization, what would it be?
Oh, in many ways that's destructive. I wish would be that we didn't need to exist. Unfortunately, I think we will need to exist. There's been a huge amount of progress that's been made over the last couple of years, but we need to hold that ground. There is, I think, a little bit of a risk out there of backsliding, whether that's created by the energy crisis in Europe as a result of the war in Ukraine or other geopolitical events. I think there will be pressure to move backwards rather than forwards as we move into a tougher period of economic growth than we've seen over the last few years. So the world will need us and others like us to keep pushing because there are important issues that need to be dealt with.
So finally, thinking ahead 5 years, where would you like the A4S organization to be at?
Well, I think we need to keep going with many of the things which have been successful for us. So the Academy, I see demand for that increasing. I see demand for essential guides increasing, but I think there will need to be a pivot. The pivot is likely towards advocacy more. As we have global sustainability standards being developed, I think it's really essential that we do get behind a single high quality set of standards. We resist proliferation. I think being vocal with governments about that will be important. And I think being vocal with standard setters as they develop new standards, we need to have a voice at the table to ensure that those are practical, that we can actually apply them, but to ensure that they are consistent and useful at the end of the day to investors.
Excellent. Jonathan, thank you so much for your wisdom. And thank you for those joining us. Please reach out to the A4S website and the CPA Canada website for more resources.